So, hi there everyone. Today I'm going to attempt to build a PC with my youngest, Emily. So we've got a selection of computer components, hopefully everything that we require in order to build this PC. Before we get started, we'll just give a quick run through everything that we've got, and then we'll start looking at how we put things together. So starting from our right, anyway, we have our monitor. Then we've got our processor, which is an AMD Ryzen 5600G. We've got our motherboard, which is an MSI motherboard with built-in Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi is a big requirement these days for any household. We've got a USB stick, a nice pink USB stick here with 8 gig of memory. That's going to be for putting our Windows installation disk on so that we can install Windows onto the new PC. We've got our RAM, so we've got two 8 gig sticks of RAM here. We have our hard disk, which is our solid state drive, a whole 500 gig, which should keep them busy for all their gaming needs. A mouse, keyboard, a power supply, our case to put everything into, and then finally our toolkit so that we can put everything together. And Emily has even included a pair of scissors for opening up the boxes as we go along. So is there anything you want to say, Emily, before we get started?
No.
No, nothing at all. Okay.
My favourite colour.
Your favourite colour is pink. Right, okay, well let's move on to the next step. Let's see about putting this computer together. Okay, so we've done some unpacking now, and you can see we've got our computer case, and at the moment we're missing a power supply, which Emily is just pointing to there. That's right. What are those?
Leads.
Some leads, yeah. So those leads will attach to the
motherboard, which this one will go there.
Yep.
And this bigger one will go there.
Correct, okay. So hopefully you'll get to work with putting that power supply into our case. We've also, oh yeah, there. And we've also got a little metal cover that goes over for the ports of the motherboard. So that will need to be inserted into the case just down here. And if we look further across your room there, we have a big fan. Can you see that big fan? Yeah. So do you know what that's for?
No.
So that is the processor fan, which goes onto the center of the motherboard. So that will, there. That's right, yeah, that will clip on over there. Okay. And what do you think goes in that little square?
Little square
that you were pointing to just on the motherboard? It's the processor. So over here we have the processor, which will go onto the motherboard. We have our hard drive, which again, onto the motherboard, and we have our 2 sticks of RAM, which will also go neatly onto our motherboard here. So now we've got things a bit more prepared, Emily's going to begin the build, and so hopefully next stage will be the power supply inserted into the case, that's right, with some screws, that little metal cover, and I think we'll also aim to get that motherboard attached to our case.
Yes.
Okay, anything you would like to say, Emily?
No.
No? Okay, well, let's get to it. So Emily is now going to get started with this metal plate. So what's this for, Emily?
This is for putting over the motherboard like that. So you'll need to put it in this little gap here. It goes in like that. It should go in like that. And then you push it till it snaps in place. You might need to hold the back a bit. It's quite fiddly sometimes, but yeah.
Okay, so that's good. We've got the power supply into position, haven't we? But you are armed with
to get
screws and a screwdriver. So you can get started on putting those screws in.
So One goes in there, I guess. Oh, I can't see that one. Okay. One goes there. Wait, no, I don't think it goes there. Oh, yeah, it does.
So I will let you loose on those 4 screws, and then we'll come back and look at how to get the motherboard installed, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so we have the power supply and that little cover now attached to our case, and the next task is to get our motherboard installed inside the case. So there we go, Emily.
So the motherboard you need to hold like on the side so you don't break any of those important bits there. And as you can see inside your case, there's this bit, and there should be a little circular hole in the middle of your, in the middle of your motherboard. So that one goes there. And then these here, there's also some other holes in the motherboard that you put on them. And sometimes you need to move these around because you can put different size motherboards in. So now we're going to try put this motherboard in. Okay, so holding it by the side. And you try put it in diagonally and make sure it goes in right place. The little flap should go over the things, and they should just fit in like that. And you can drop it, just be careful. And then as you can see, that bit there is pointing out. So we've got that there, and there should be other things under there that have gone into it. So it holds it up like that.
Okay, so the motherboard's in, and the next step is to go and install some screws to hold that motherboard in place, because of course it will fall out. So Emily will get started on putting those screws in, and then we'll return to attach the power supply and install some things like the processor and the fan, the RAM and the hard disk. Yeah?
Power supply there.
Yeah, but we'll do.
And that there.
Okay, right. Let's go and get started with getting those screws installed for the motherboard.
Yep.
Okay, so Emily has now successfully got that motherboard screwed in. You put in all the different screws, haven't you, to hold the board in place?
Yep. So when you stand it up, this motherboard stays.
Correct. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and attach cables. Okay, so that particular one you've got there is...
This is the audio. So
And is there anything special about that one?
it's missing a pin thingy. So there's a little black square.
Okay.
It's not got a hole. And then if you look here, it says J odd for audio.
Okay.
And then there's missing a pin. So you'd look for the non-pin bit, and you would turn it like that and push it in gently. If I can manage. Is that in?
Well, we can tighten them up
Yeah,
if
that's
not.
in.
That's in. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so the
Next one then.
So the next one is, I would say this one. So this one's got 3 pinhole bits. There is one here. It's called SYS Fan 2. It does have 4 pins, but we can leave this one out and just push it in.
So that's for our
Fan.
fan, which you can see at the back there.
Yep, so there. There's also this one. So remove this cable.
So it's a tricky one, this one.
So this one, I need to move them. So can you hold those pins? That one. Okay. So this one you need to put in here, but you need to be careful so this bit doesn't snap off. So you need to make sure it's on the right way around. So there's a little dent there and there's a bit cut out there. So you put it that way and make sure you hold on to the back so it doesn't snap and push it in like that.
Okay, that's it in. Perfect.
Yeah. And then there's these ones that are attached to the
Power supply.
power supply. Yes, thank you. So that's a little clip there. So that's where you put it, and you need to clip this onto the back. So, should probably hear a click, should you?
Yeah, that sounded good. Okay, and then the last one.
There's this thick one here that, and there's a clip again there. So that would go here, and the clip facing the outside. Like, if you can turn it. Oh, be careful with it. Don't push it down too hard.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Okay, well, I can maybe have a look at that. Have a look at it.
I don't want to break it.
Good. And then the last thing we've got here, we've got what? Lots of different
that one's attached.
connectors, haven't we? Lots of tiny little ones for the power supply and some LEDs on the front of the case. And so we know where it goes, don't we?
Yeah, but it's a bit confusing. It goes there.
It goes there, but it's a bit more complicated. So we are armed with instructions that we can see here. Shows us how to connect them up. And we're going to go away and do that ourselves, yeah?
Yeah.
And that'll be all our cables connected, and we can look at putting on the extra components that we need for the PC to run, don't we? Yes. Can you think of anything that we might need to put on next stage? Processor?
Yeah. And that thing.
Hard disk? RAM.
And that thing.
Oh, that's a USB stick for installing Windows.
Not that thing.
No. Okay, right. Let's go and get those little connectors done, and we'll come back and we'll put the processor on.
Reset SW power SW power LED minus power LED plus.
Perfect. Okay, so Emily is now armed with our processor, and she's hopefully going to install that correctly in the motherboard. So what's the first thing you need to do?
The first thing you need to do is put up the lever, but also there's a thing here that helps. So there's like an arrow there pointing in, and there's like an arrow there pointing in there. So that's where it goes.
Okay.
But this is very expensive, so you need to be careful with this.
Yes, okay. So do you want to go and open that lever? So gently.
You pull it to the side ever so slightly.
Yeah.
And then you lift it up.
Okay, all the way up.
And then you lift it up again, high. And then it comes in like that. And then you go and place this really carefully.
It should just drop into place, hopefully. You shouldn't feel any resistance. There. Yeah.
And then you close this.
Yeah, that's it. You pull the lever back down.
And push it to the side. And
shouldn't
in like
feel
that.
tight. And that's it. That is our processor now installed. So the next thing we'll have to do is to get the fan. So see the big massive fan there, yeah. And we'll attach that to the motherboard in the next step, okay? Right, Emily, so what did we discover when we were trying to fit the CPU fan?
We discovered that we actually need to do it before we put the motherboard in. To like, yeah.
Yeah, so what happened?
We had to take the motherboard off and screw it into place because ours didn't come with clips.
Yeah, so because the processor fan didn't come with clips, we had to remove the clips, and by doing that, we lost the board at the back of the motherboard and had to take the whole motherboard off and attach the processor fan with the motherboard off of the case. So if you're watching this now, make sure that you fit the processor and the processor fan before attaching the motherboard, unless you want some fun taking the motherboard off and reattaching it. But it wasn't too tricky, was it? We managed.
We just lost a screw.
We lost a screw, yeah.
And had to like try to get screws out of the thing, but we managed.
We managed. Okay, so the next part of our build is to install the RAM.
Is this the RAM?
Yep, that's the RAM. So are you going to go ahead and install that now? So what are you going to tell us about the RAM?
Wait, so you put the RAM in here. You can put in up to 4 RAMs, but we just have the one today. So as you can see, this side is shorter than this side. So you need to look on this, and you can see this side is shorter than that side. So this is generally like that, but you push it back to make it like that, and then you go to the short side and you just slot it in like that, and then that could usually fall out if you tipped it sideways, so you'd have to carefully push it in.
Just keep pushing the RAM and it will click.
And it should click.
And try a wee bit of a help.
Yes.
Right, so I'm just going to push.
That side's in.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that side's in too. So that's it. Both the clips have come up and the
So now it
RAM
can't fall off.
is now installed. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to install our little miniature hard drive.
So
On you go.
you see this bit here. It's next to like this square bit here, and there's also this bit here. That's needed and that's needed. So you see this bit that has this little dip there. That's the side we'll be using first, and you need to see it. You need to put it that way so you can see the words, and then you just put it in like that very carefully, and then you very, very carefully push it down, and then there'll be a screw there that you need to put on.
Yep, so we'll put a screw on there and we'll hold that in place.
Because
We'll do that.
otherwise it would just be like that, and that wouldn't work.
Ping out. And I've also brought along some old hard disks. Okay, so this is what hard disks used to look like. So you think how small that was.
Yeah.
That is what's called a 3.5 inch hard drive.
So that would be what that is.
Yep, and do you think what's got more space? Do you think that big drive that I've given you or that little drive?
Little.
Yeah, the little drive has actually got more space. The little drive's got 500 gig, and
this
this one
one's
has got, oh I lie, this one's got 750, so it is bigger, but
Sad.
very expensive. And what about this one?
This
It's tiny. It's a 2.5 inch
is that
hard
the
drive.
same?
It's a similar idea. So it's storage for your PC.
Okay.
And do you think it's got more space or less space?
Less.
So it should say GB.
320 gigabytes.
320 gigabytes. Yep. So this little hard drive
It's got less.
has actually got less than this tiny
Because this has
little
got 50 gigabytes.
hard drive. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get that screw attached to our little solid state drive, and I think then we can think about closing up the PC case. Okay, so you've put together your monitor. We've put the side panel back onto the case, and you can see that the side panel is actually see-through, so we can see everything in there. And the next challenge is to plug in the power, turn it on, and keep our fingers crossed that everything works. And then we're going to have to look at getting that USB stick of yours. What is it? That's it, the pink USB stick, where we'll put Windows onto and then set up Windows so that you can then start using the computer and
cool keyboard.
cool keyboard.
It lights up.
Cool. Right. Let's go and give that a go. Okay, so we now have the PC turned on, don't we, Emily? Yep.
Yeah.
We can see everything is working, and we can also see the case is up and running, and the
It's LED, and there's also the LED keyboard.
yeah. Okay, and then what have you got in your hand?
I've got the
USB stick.
Yeah, USB stick. So
And what's on there?
memory sort of stuff.
Yeah, but what have we put on there? Windows.
Windows.
Okay, right, you can go and plug it in then.
Wait, are you supposed to see writing or not? No.
It should fit. Okay, so that's a USB stick plugged in. And we should hopefully now be able to boot from that USB stick and install Windows. Okay, Emily, so if you go ahead now and hit the Install Now button. And we do have a license key, but we will type that in after it's installed. So you can say, I don't have a product key. And then if you pick Windows 10 Pro and next, yep. Just be patient though. Accept the licensing terms and hit next. And we're going to go with a custom install, correct? So we've got our hard drive, which was our 500 gig drive there. And yeah, we don't need to worry about that. That's to do with...
Yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, right.
Next.
You can go with next, yep, and it'll worry about the formatting of the drive for us. So there we go. It's copying the files.
That was really quick.
Yeah, really quick. That's because a new PC. You might have to wait. So all of this will do its magic. And
I got a keyboard.
Windows will be installed for you, and then we'll get you up and running.
The keyboard can change.
Oh, you can change the colours.
And also you can
Is that
change
your
the
most
brightness.
exciting part?
Yeah. You can also change the brightness. I like it
Fancy.
most on that one because my favourite colour is blues and pinks and purples, and that's cool. Oh, it's going quite fast.
It is going quite fast. Okay, well...
It's rainbow.
So it is.
It's rainbow there. It goes rainbow colours and it's still spinning. I love computers.
Right, we'll let Windows do its magic and we'll return at the end once it's all installed. Oh, you've hit an escape key.
I
So
want to get
do you want to quit? No, you don't want to quit.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is a few weeks now after we built the original PC. Do you want to show us it turning on, Emily?
And yeah,
We can see all the lovely LEDs.
yeah, change colour.
So how's it been the last couple of weeks then?
Good.
Has it been fast? Has it been slow?
It's actually been quite fast.
Yeah.
Very fast.
And have we had any problems at all with it?
We had problems at the start. We had to change the motherboard because it kept restarting.
Yeah, that was a bit of a pain, wasn't it? So you were playing games on it and all of a sudden it would turn off.
Yeah, I couldn't even get onto games because it just turned off immediately, and then we did the motherboard on and it hasn't restarted yet.
Okay, so what did we end up going for? So we started with what motherboard? Do you want to show everyone the motherboard again?
The MSI.
So we started with the MSI, yeah. And what have we replaced it with?
We've replaced it with Tough Gaming.
So we replaced it with an Asus Tough Gaming motherboard. So we did have to remove everything.
Stickers.
Yeah. So we had to remove everything from the case again, didn't we? And
we
then
didn't have to take the power supply out because that was already.
yeah. But it's all been good, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And you enjoyed putting it together.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. And can you remember any of the parts from inside the PC?
There's the power supply, there's the memory, there's the motherboard, there's the case, there's wires, and then there's the long white thingy.
Okay. And is there anything you'd like to say to everyone? Would you recommend people build their own PCs?
It is quite fun, so yeah.
Good. And you've learnt lots.
Yeah.
All right, well, make sure you wave goodbye to everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.